everyone, this is Martabin Baloch from Pakistan, and you're watching my YouTube channel Insani Itihad, which aims to invoke a little bit of humanity in all of us through awareness and understanding. Recently, actually not very recently, it's about 13 or 12 days ago, on 29th of May, a great Punjabi singer, a youth icon, and a revolutionary, I must say, a revolutionary South Asian politician who actually was running for the election in Punjab, the Indian Punjab, and unfortunately he didn't win the election, but the way he campaigned and the way he run his political, manifesto, and the way he ran his campaign was so inspirational. And even more so, how he managed to run the political campaign for his own mother to be the panchayat leader. So there is this local government system in India and also in Pakistan. That's not very effective, but in India, local government, or the at the village and towns circles, there are committees which are called panchayats, who are elected from the local people to have the representation and solve local level issues of communities and villages and stuff. So this young man, just only 28 years old, first he set trends and pioneered the Punjabi music industry in India, as well as actually the subcontinent, because the Punjabi music industry in India is largely adored by or listened by the Pakistani Punjabi community. I have always been a huge fan of the Punjabi music myself, although the great guy, I didn't mention his name, so hold your breath. Sidhu Moose Wala. His full name is Shubhdeep Singh Sidhu, and his village is called Musa village, Musa, in the district Mansa, Indian Punjab actually. And he used to call himself Sidhu, the last name, his surname, and his caste basically. And he used to have the Sidhu Moose Wala. Moose Wala is from the village of Musa in Indian Punjab. Great guy. I mean, I have, unfortunately, and this is such an unfortunate thing, that I have not come across his music before his death, and this has happened the very second time. Previously, Sushant Singh Rajput, a great Bollywood actor, who has been murdered in 2020, and so again, we never come across the kind of great guy and a great actor he was. I actually watched only one of his movies, and to be very honest, that was the least it was not a very good movie. I at least didn't like it, and neither did I like his acting and whatever. But later on, after his death, we come across his interviews, his thought process, his work as an actor, and we're totally amazed how amazing this guy was. And me and my sister is actually like fighting for his justice and everything and all that. But he was such an inspirational young man. And me and my sister used to say, how can people in India will let that happen? And we complain, and the Indians also say that Pakistan is a very brutal country. There is no appreciation of talent or goodness or righteousness or good people. So all the people of Pakistan are actually evil. So one can imagine, okay, talented people are, discriminated and are not given proper, chance to prove themselves. But since India is that, champion of democracy and secularism and equal rights and righteousness and whatever, how can this guy, be murdered, brutally murdered like that? And his case is not yet resolved, and the murderers and nothing has been, going on in that investigation of Sushant Singh Rajput. And now this great, amazing singer, even an amazing and legendary human being, somebody, some gangsters in Punjab or from Punjab or whatever, they just in broad daylight, they just stop his car and, shoot him, fire 30 or something bullets at him and kill him on the spot. He was threatened by gangsters in Punjab because he was running a political campaign, and he was running for the office, running to become an MLA, that is a member Lok Sabha or Legislative Assembly. I don't know what it's called exactly. I'm sorry, I should have forgotten it. But yeah, because of his success. I mean, he joined the Punjabi music industry in 2017, and up till now he has like tons of great music, and not just this ordinary great music which talks about, drugs and booties and girls and beautiful girls and this, and if people who are fond of Punjabi music, or who can understand Punjabi, would know how synonymous and very average is the Punjabi lyrics or songs. I mean, the music is upbeat, it's a bhangra music, and you want to dance on it and something, it's very loud and everything. The beat is good. But, the lyrics are always, beautiful girl, I'm your hair, your eyes, your this, your that, or, drugs or alcohol or this or that. This guy wrote song, and this is such, it pains my heart that me and my sister, who are the biggest, Punjabi music, we love Punjabi music. I mean, I can say I only love Punjabi music and the Hebrew music, Israeli music. But so this guy we never come across, unfortunately. But his lyrics, if you listen to whoever understands Punjabi, and I would share some of his songs in which there are subtitles, and you would know, if you would check and watch this video, you would know that his lyrics, his words are revolutionary. They're thought-provoking. And not only the beat is good, but the lyrics are very thought-provoking, and and he was a massive success in Indian Punjab, and in India internally, whoever understands Punjabi and loves Punjabi music. And he was equally adored and loved in Pakistan. And, Punjabis wherever. I mean, Punjabi people are like wherever, everywhere. They're like, the other Jews, the South Asian Jews, literally, they're everywhere, in every country, and, you would find Punjabis, even in small numbers, or, large communities like in UK, or, So it's such a sad thing that this amazing, talented young man, who could have produced much more thought-provoking and amazing work. And again, his political stance as an actor, as an artist, as a musician, as a songwriter, and as an entertainer in regards to the farmers' protest in India. which was a long-standing protest, and every farmer in Punjab participated, and he spearheaded. He used his fame, he used his words, he used his his fan power and everything to make sure those farmers get their rights, and the bill is taken back by the federal government, and it was a success. It I would say Sidhu Moose Wala played major role in in the Kisan Andolan. And by the way, I also made a video in regards to farmers' protest, and I strongly supported the the concerns of the farmers, and that the bill was highly discriminated and discriminatory towards the farmers, and it was just, that bill was just wrong, plain wrong, and taking it back was the damage control. But obviously presenting that bill as a law showed the ill wills of people in Maharashtra, people who are industrialist and corporate sector of the Gujarati lobby, the Maharashtrian lobby, and all these people who feel that these poor people should just work for big corporations and shouldn't have the liberty and their own financial autonomy, autonomy. Yeah, so this young man stood for the rights of his people, of Punjab's farmers, and when he ran for election, it's such an unfortunate thing that when such a guy, such a truthful, daring, the guy who took stand for righteousness, stood on the Punjab elections, he was defeated by mediocre candidates who were not even at par to even compete with Sidhu Moose Wala, and such a pity that he lost the election. But even then, when he lost the election, his political will, his political maturity was so inspiring. I've heard his interviews. Such an amazing guy. And I sometimes feel that South Asia, that is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and this region, and even Afghanistan, this region is such a unfortunate and cursed, I must say. It is an unfortunate and cursed region where youth icons and people who can be legendary, although Sidhu Moose Wala is already and was already a living legend, and now he is an eternal legend in terms of trending trends in Punjabi music, in provocative music and lyrics, and also in the political horizon. But this guy dying like this is such a curse that such a curse for the subcontinent, that such young talented people die so soon when they have the opportunity to contribute to this region. But I think this whole region is cursed, and it's such an unfortunate region that great people, great minds do not survive here and go young, or either immigrate to the US or the West, and the other people who have value for intellect, for people with great ideas, with courage, with the strength to stand up for something right. And the West takes advantage of it, and then the subcontinent people come up and start whining. One of those people, the commenters in the podcast and YouTube channels, like Abhijit, I don't know what they Abhijit, or those BJP funded people. This is bad. the West treats us like that. I think to a certain extent, the way West treats us is is actually quite deserving, that this is what we do to people who are the most talented and can actually bring about positive change in our societies. We just kill them. And then this week's parsha, I was reading this week's parsha, and again I have to everything I have to connect with Torah and my Judaism, because it's such a part of my thought process and my life, that these connections are made naturally, and I don't even have to make an effort or do that. I just read the Torah, and then I see what's going around my life and around me, and what's my thought process. I kind of connected with Torah. And I was reading the last week's parsha and this week's parsha, and I was saying, what is God telling? God is saying to Moses and Aaron, count these people from this, this tribe, count these people for this, give them these responsibilities, give them these responsibilities of the Mishkan, of the service of the Mishkan. This is how you would, separate the Kohanim from the Levites, that sort of a thing. And I'm saying, you're numbering, there is a number, there is this. And this week, and the last week also, it started in the last week's parsha, and this week it continued, is that the age of the Kohanim or Kohet or Levites or Gerishonite, or all those people who would serve at the Mishkan. And I was just so surprised to see that Hashem said that count the men from the age between 30 to 50. So, Hashem is saying, in my house, in my Mishkan, young people would serve me. People who are age 30 to 50. So, this age, the age between 30 to 50, is the age of the service to Hashem, to the Mishkan. And I wonder, this guy is just 28 years old, and one of his interviews, he was criticized that you're promoting with your songs, you're promoting gun culture, you're promoting gun culture and violence and stuff and gangsterism and this. And he said that, okay, I live in environment where security is a big issue, and obviously as men, I belong to a farmers community, and my village in Dadu has been famous for we call them decades. We call them in Sindhi or in Saraiki, we call them dhadal, and they're like dacoits or robbers. So in the early 90s and all through the 90s, early 90s and late 80s, there had been militant groups who used to take ransom money, who would kidnap people, who would take ask for people to bribe them, and street robberies, or at night people would just rob the homes of big landlords and stuff. So we started accumulating guns and stuff. But in Baloch culture, even in Pashtun culture, there is this feel, because there is this tribalness, there is this rawness of the fight for the right of lands, and there are cattle and there are resources, and there are constant conflicts between intertribal rivalries and intertribal differences. So weapons become a part of our culture. And similarly, so the Moose Wala village, and plenty of other surrounding villages in Mansa experienced the same kind of decades, and the gangs who would bribe people, who would take bribes from people, and extortion and money and stuff. So this was the case that he said that I grew up in the sort of environment where I feel that a weapon is my defense, and I know what a weapon is. And then he said a very beautiful thing, that it's not the weapon which is bad, it is the person who's operating the weapon can decide, that can be determined as a good or bad, because a terrorist has a weapon, so does a police officer or an army officer. So how would you say, if the weapon is bad, then why, armies and police officers have weapon? Why don't they have flowers, or Torahs and Qurans and Bibles to educate people with who are like Osama bin Laden and all those terrorists and stuff. So it's the man and the brain behind. He said it's the brain behind that weapon which actually is good or bad. So he said that I don't feel that promoting having promoting guns, or that sort of a thing is a bad thing necessarily, if I promote it for the self-defense and being able to protect himself. And his favorite gun was, by the way, 47 AK, which I can relate to. It's my favorite. So anyway, but yeah, I still have to get one. A licensed one, the one that I have. My brother has one, but yeah, I have to get my own AK-47. But yeah, I mean, it's part of our culture. It's not like that we're necessarily violent people who we wear gangsters or stuff. The environment that you live in, even in the US, if you go to states like Arizona, or the countryside states where there are farmers and this and that, so they feel threatened because they are in the eyes of people who can harm them or take advantage of them, and know that they have the resources, and therefore they need a weapon for their protection. And after all, I mean, men have to be men, after all. I mean, I'm not one of those kind of people who would say, I mean, even as a woman, I'm not polite, so I would rather not have a peace loving, polite kind of a man. But it's nothing wrong with that too. But it depends on the environment that you live in, your circumstances. So being judgmental on some sort of opinion that you make in on your own mind is something that I think nobody should appreciate. And after knowing his real self through his interviews, and he was the kind of person that he would reach out, he would go live with his followers, with his fans, and would tell what is going on in his village, the kind of simple ordinary life he used to live. He was a farmer first and foremost, and he used to go live when he used to go to his farms and cultivate, and ride on his tractor, and take care of the land, or plow it, or cut the crops or whatever. So he used to show that raw image of his village. He actually made Musa, the village Musa, Pind Musa, which is called Pind Musa, famous in the entire world. And it's such a humble, yet very highly sensitive and educated, and a very highly spirited guy who took a stand on the farmers' protest and Kisan Andolan. A guy who felt for the people's needs. He was saying that I ran the campaign of his mother's election in the local village elections, and he said that we didn't give those voters, or those in the campaign parties, we didn't distribute any alcohol, but we gave them peanuts. And that's how he made sure that his mother wins the election. And in his own campaign, he said that I asked people not to not ask the political leaders or campaigners to spend money on their campaign, because if they would invest in their campaign, how would they, get back the money they have invested on the campaign? And they would get it from, from corruption, from this side or that. And that's quite fair. If you are investing on your campaign your own money, or borrowed money from someone, you want it back on an interest, or on a profit. So nobody wants to spend their money and then just forget about it. This doesn't happen. A very practical, sensible, yet revolutionary guy who was trying to educate the voters to go behind leaders who have a manifesto, who have a thought process, rather than going behind, idols. The idol of, Modi, which is, all great, and idol of Rahul is the optimum, Rahul Gandhi is the optimum of all evil. So he was like, don't go after parties or idols, go after the candidate, what the candidate is. Is that candidate a fair candidate, intellectual candidate? Is the manifesto of the candidate viable, sensible, doable, practical? Then vote for that guy. Vote for that representative which can represent those people, those problems of those areas. And I feel it's such a tragedy, such an unfortunate thing, and literally a curse for the Indian people that such an amazing youth icon, a legend, an amazing, inspirational human being has been shot dead in cold blood by, it's such a pity. And when I was seeing his rivalries with his Punjabi singers who were, very jealous and intimidated by his success and all, it was such a sad thing to see, that how can, people of subcontinent be so, so jealous and so little in their thought process, that instead of competing talent with more talent, they compete with, bringing the reputation down of such a talent, or try to bother that person. There was this one video where he was like, he lost the election and he was like, take me to Pakistan, I feel bored here. And such a emotional, sadness was in his voice and on his face. And I wish I could just take him. I would just take him. And I was saying to my sister that, this is the kind of man that I want you to get married to. Although I I mean, the Dr. Zakaria Pastor is also, he's also, I also see him as a very brave person, because he takes a stand against his own people. And he feels like, okay, Palestinians have this and this. I don't agree with that. But he takes a stand. And I think that's very admirable. And that's a very Jewish thing. That's a very, very Jewish thing. Whether Abraham taking a stand against the rest of the world who was in adultery and paganism, and he was the flag bearer of monotheism and a God which is beyond time and space, and it's more like a spirituality and metaphysics and stuff. Whether it is it's Isaac who is taking a stand for righteousness and and being fair. He's not only chesed like Abraham, but he's also principled. He said, no, whatever my older son is, Esau is, he deserves the blessings, and so I will give him, no matter what, because that's the right thing to do. Then you have Israel, who is like he's balancing through this and that, between Rachel and Leah, and between one son and the other son. And then the 12 tribes, the 12 beautiful colors of the Jewish people. And out of that, Judah, the one who takes a stand even against his dreamy brother who wants to leave Eretz Israel and go out, venture into the world, and he takes a stand that this is a foolish idea. Hashem gave us this land, we should be here, we should, build our lives here, and then, the rest of the world can take inspiration from us from here. And then, going back to Mizrahim and not recognizing his younger brother and taking a stand and arguing with him in regards to Benjamin. And, the Jewish, and then you see Yehuda Maccabee taking a stand against the biggest army of that time, the Romans. And then, in the Purim story, Mordecai is taking a stand, and Queen Esther is taking a stand, taking a courageous stand. And then, even Moshe, Aaron, Joshua taking up weapons and going to, Eretz Israel, and actually a war mission. So it takes a lot of courage. And Torah teaches us to, empower the youth and empower that courage of taking a stand. Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest prophet of all, through whom the Israelites received the details of the Torah and everything, and he sort of compiled everything. He guided, he taught the Jewish people, the Israelites, about the halakha, about the guidelines, about the teaching and needs, and everything what God expected from the Israelites. Joshua superseded him. Joshua, a young man, a young leader, was superseded or given preference by Hashem to lead the Israelites into Eretz Israel as compared to Aaron or, Moshe Rabbeinu himself, or even the sons of Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron. I mean, Joshua is the one, that macho guy had to be the one from the tribe of Judah to lead the, people in Eretz Israel. And then, this destiny of leadership in taking charge and taking decisions and taking the role of malach or malachiyot from the tribe of Judah, whereas the descendants of Ruth, David and his sons, and Saul, and all of them. Okay, Saul was not from the tribe of Judah, but David and Shlomo, and then all of these kids, and then eventually Mashiach will also be a young man who would take this initiative to heal this world and transform this world. And even before that, there will be wars, and there will be fights, and there will be taking tough decisions. So in the Jewish tradition, I think the success of Judaism and the Jewish thought is that it cherishes the service of the young, service of the youth, and therefore in particular and in detail, and it is stressed that men at the age of 30, men between the ages of 30 to 50 should be counted, and they should be given responsibilities to carry out the Mishkan and the service in the Mishkan. And it shows actually in the Pasha that their contribution is the most special. So if you're under 30, that means you're too young or too reluctant to be to be taken very seriously and given a responsibility. But if you're 30, you are ready to take that responsibility, and you should be given a leadership role, and you should be given a responsibility. But if you're just over 50, then you're too old. You are too old to handle that burden. It's such a beautiful thought that you are just too old to handle that, that burden, and you shouldn't be given that burden. And therefore I connected this this tragedy, this tragedy that literally has saddened me personally, and saddened my sister, and both of us, when we look at Sidhu Moose Wala's parents, especially his mother, his father. I mean, I pray to Hashem that no parent should go through the grief, the amount of grief that they are going through, having an only child, Shubhdeep Singh Sidhu, going at this young age. I mean, on 11th June, it could have been his 29th birthday. And even before that, he was killed and murdered in broad daylight, where you can see the cars, you can have witnesses who can, verify who are those guys. Even this one guy sitting in Canada took responsibility of the murder, that his gang was responsible for murdering and killing Shubhdeep Singh Sidhu Moose Wala. And such a tragedy. I mean, looking at his corpse, and then listening to his songs where he is just full of life. And people used to say he is he is Mara. He's not very good looking. I would tell those people who thought that he's not good looking and handsome, I would say the words he used to say in Punjabi, and then I would translate them. दिल दा ते मुख दिल दा नहीं माड़ा ते मुख दा भी नहीं माड़ा सिद्धू मूसेवाला, बल्कि दिल दा नहीं माड़ा ते मुख दा भी नहीं माड़ा साडा सिद्धू मूसेवाला. And I'm just I mean, each time I see his videos, his live clips, my heart goes out in this deep depression. And when I see his mother, his father, literally tears come into my eyes. And I have in the end, I would just wish that when I get married, and I would have many sons, and one of my sons I would name after Shubhdeep Singh Sidhu Moose Wala. I will not name him Shubhdeep, because I can't. Obviously, I would have Jewish children. But if my husband won't mind, I would probably have the second name Shubhdeep. But his first name, my son's first name, would be Musa or Moshe. And I would tell my son the story of Sidhu Moose Wala and his courage, and how amazing he was, and his songs and everything. And I wish I would have a son like Sidhu Moose Wala. I would be a proud mother, just like his mother, Charan Kaur is her name. So Mataji, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of her son, and I wish to have a son like Sidhu Moose Wala. I wish to have a son like Yehuda Mekavi. I wish to have a son like Vladimir Zelensky. Yeah, I think, or I wish to have a son like Shimon, Levi, and Joshua, who lead the Israelite with courage, take a stand. A son like Yehuda, who stand up and take a stand and impact this world with their conscience, with their courage towards righteousness. I would like everyone, whoever is my subscriber, to pray for the soul of Shubhdeep Singh Sidhu Moose Wala. Listen to his wonderful songs, which I will put into the description, the songs that I love the most. But I think you should subscribe to his channel and listen to all of his songs, and even though if you don't understand Punjabi, you should. The beat is amazing. Um, yeah, pray for Sidhu Moose Wala, Shubhdeep Singh, Sidhu Moose Wala. Pray for his mother, Charan Kaur. Pray for his father. Pray for his family. And I wish to have a son like him. That's my wish. And he has become an icon and legend and inspiration for me personally. May his soul rest in peace. May his soul reach um, to Hashem and become part of Hashem. And you see, he was a Gentile, one can say a Sikh, a pagan, but I think he believed in Paramatma, and Paramatma is the Hashem, the eternal spirit. So this man believed in that. So even if he's a Gentile and a non-Jew, he is my inspiration because he was a beautiful, beautiful creation by Hashem. And I wish that if his soul comes back into this world, I want to be the mother because it's such an honor to have a son like that. Such an honor, such a blessing to have a son like that. He will live in my car because I will play his songs always, his and the Hebrew songs, Hebrew religious and Israeli songs. And his songs, these are going to be my music now. And he will live in my heart, always. I just don't seem to forget his face, his words. Amazing guy. So pray for him, pray for his family. Thank you.